Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about layers. Layers is extremely important in AutoCAD. I can usually tell how good a drafter in AutoCAD is by how many layers they use and how they're set up. Um, Most novices that haven't been trained well in AutoCAD, they use one, maybe two or three layers, very basic, and it leads to more issues down the road. And so layers is really what is able to take your drawings to the next level. And having good layer management is very important. And so a lot of firms, we spend time creating those standards of what layers and so on and so forth that we use, because it trickles down into its speed for your drawing, and then it is coordination. Um, so here you can see is we have a drawing of this is a big commercial building, and then all these items, these are all different layers. So the advantage of layering is I can come through and all these blue lines here, they're on a single layer. So I could freeze them, which is shutting them off. Or I can come through here and I can isolate them. So let's say I want to isolate all my sprinkler heads, and here's all my sprinkler heads in the drawing. Um, let's say um, let's say I didn't want to show this is fire service water lines. Maybe I didn't want to show this layer on the plan, so I could shut it off. Um, and so layering is very important because it allows you to turn objects on and off, and then it also allows you to, we have different colors, different line types. So the DM versus the FW and how these dashes are. Um, Line weights. So you can see these are really thin lines, and then this DM is a really thick line. Um, so layers are very prominent um, in most graphic design. You do Photoshop. Photoshop is all about layers, and then Google Earth is about layers. But even going back really far in time, well, not super far in time, but so Disney, they were very big into layers. So you can see here, Mickey in this, he is essentially just a layer, um, and they have it as an independent layer, and then another layer, and so then that is speeds up their process because they're layering stuff. They can easily change stuff out like they did. Then when you see here, so in this image here, you can see that there's the moon, the fence, the trees, and the house with the road. And then if we move through, so this is the multi-plane camera that Disney came up with. Is then it had separated, each one was on its own layer, and so the moon, the building, the fence, and the trees were all separate layers, and they were all independent, and so they had great control over the effects. And so we're not making a movie here, but these are essentially plans. I like to think of them as little pieces of art. Our heart and soul goes into our designs, and the better you can make them look, um, you know the better it is for the client and for the contractor that's going to um, actually use your plans, because the whole point of plans is, as a designer, you are there to convey your thoughts and ideas to whoever is going to install it. And if you do not express your thoughts in a clear, concise manner, then you're not doing your job. And so by having clean drafting and items be legible and clear and very distinct, is that's what is going to lead to successful projects, and then more clients and so on and so forth. So let me see. So that was, what is this? So I'm gonna go, if you go up here, has these little sheets with it, almost looks like a calculator to me. It is the let's see, layers property. So if you type in, I always use the button, but I think if you type in layer, then the layer property manager comes up. And you can see, so in this drawing right here, these are all my layers that I have. And so each layer is made up of, I'm going to choose this one right here. So there's a layer name, so you can customize it to whatever you want. One thing that I do in all my layer names, because some of these drawings you could end up with thousands of layers. And so to get them all your layers to group together is then I put the same letters in front. So my company is Arroyo Irrigation, so all my layers are AI dash and then my layer. So then that way they all sort together, which is exactly why when you see this, you can see all these extra layers from in this drawing, but then instead of being scattered throughout, you can see all my Arroyo Irrigation ones are all together before I get back into other layers. Then there is, you can, with the light bulb, is turning them on and off, and then freeze and unfreeze. So basically on and off and freeze and unfreeze do the same thing. The main difference is freeze takes it out of memory, and so it does, your graphics card does not then draw the object, so it speeds up the performance. So it's very, I just get in the habit personally is I use the freeze and unfreeze. It just makes it, you know, if you're going to hide something and not see it, then make it so your computer works faster. So you can see these, all these layers up here are frozen. Then next is the lock. So if you don't want things to be taken off that layer, put on that layer, you can lock the layer so that layer doesn't change. So if you click it, then it goes to a little lock symbol, or unclick it, and then you can make the change. Then the color. So you come in here and do that. So AutoCAD, their default is the index color. So there's 254 colors total. So here's the then shades of grays that they have. Here's the primaries: red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta, white, and then some more grays. And then here's all these different colors that you could use in between for your drawing. And so for us, for example, we have, which we'll get later into plot styles, but we use the primary colors for our line so that they print black. And then these colors we have show gray so that they're muted back. And then that makes our design work pop. and stand out and be clear, while the background just kind of blends in. You could then choose other, any color in between that makes your heart content, or we actually have predetermined color books that I've named. So this one is domestic waterline. And then next is line type. So these are here. These are, when they're dashed, or the FW or the DM. Docked. Yeah. So that's the line type. So you can come in here. I have special line types that I've created, or you can load, and there's a bunch, like you can do dots, you can do dashes, zigzags, you can create your own. So when you select those, those are what all the different dashes and such make up those lines. And that's how you then delineate, one line type from a different line type. So for us in irrigation, we then show, one pipe versus a different type of pipe. So in those pipe types, or the line types, delineate the pipes to the contractor. So in landscape, typically what the line types also delineate is like walls and fences. So a different line type is going to delineate a different type of fence, maybe a wrought iron fence versus a brick fence or brick wall, or like maybe a mow curb. So that's what those are used for. Next is line weight. So then line weight, like we talked before, if you have like a really thin line versus a fat line. So when you come in here, you can then choose really thin line weights all the way up to really thick line weights. And so these millimeter, they kind of go back to hand drafting when, let's see. So pin for pins. And so you'd have different size tips that would do different thicknesses for the lines that you were drawing by hand. And so a lot of landscape architects actually will, when they do their plot styles, which again we'll get more into later, is they will say, orange, anything that's layer orange actually prints at this thickness, at the 0.4 thickness. Or if it's a certain color blue, this cyan color, it plots at 1.4. And so they use the old school of the pin weights to the color of the pins, because back in the day, they would just know when they grabbed that pin out of that cup holder or pin holder that, if they wanted a certain line weight on their hand-drawn plans, that they wanted a blue or a red, give them that line weight. And so that has carried over for some people into AutoCAD. I personally, I feel like that's bringing the past baggage into the new realm. I personally don't use it that way. If I want it thickness of a certain color, I don't have the color of the layer determine the thickness. I literally have, where's it going to come up? I literally have the thickness determine the thickness, if you get my drift. So when I see it thick on the screen, I know that it's printing thick. Doesn't matter what color it is. If I see it thick, it prints thick. If I see it thin, it prints thin. Okay, this is going to cut off. We'll continue on the next one.